Jeff and Jeremy in the Morning podcast brought to you commercial free by another podcast. You've subscribed to ours, now subscribe to theirs. It's the Slow County Real Estate Podcast with Hal Swayze. When you're done with this, go listen to something that will actually enrich your life. California DRE 011-111-911.
Didn't you know the people that started MySpace or something like that? Didn't you know those people?
No, I knew one of the guys that was involved. He was involved. I don't know what he's doing now. His name was Adam, and he's got Vintu Vineyards. You've been to Vintu Vineyards, right?
Okay.
He's one of him. He owns
live right by it.
Either owns the whole thing or he owns part of it, and it's really weird because I went for the fair for like 3 years in a row. We would stay in that house in the front, and that's like his vacation house. He doesn't normally. They don't rent it out. It's for him and his family. So, but because, I don't know, their Airbnbs were full, we worked out a deal to stay there. And there's just pictures of him and his family and his wife and their kids. And there's toys in the rooms. It's a really weird thing to stay in someone's house.
But he's not Tom. He's not Tom.
No, I don't think Tom was a real person. I think Tom was...
Tom was totally a real person. I saw his picture, dude.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the guy right there.
Yeah, I think Tom was made up.
There's some MySpace humor for you people out there that remember MySpace.
I can't remember. I can't tell you that I'm 100% right on that, but I think he's...
Didn't they sell it for a bunch of money? Whole bunch of money?
I don't know.
It's like Fox News.
Yes,
Fox
they did.
News like screwed it up.
They really did, but I don't know what it was. And
if you win the...
I've only met the guy like once.
If you win the Powerball, you can buy 23andMe because it is in financial distress. Here's the world's most like just negative Nancy Debbie Downer.
Nasally.
Like I would never invite him over to my house for a gathering because everybody would just go away and they would be in a much worse mood. And they'd think that the actual, what was it we were talking about yesterday, that 1 mile asteroid was going to hit like tomorrow if Alex Stone shows up.
California-based 23andMe has reported it's in financial distress, according to California Attorney General Rob Bonta, who says regulatory filings show the company is in doubt it can continue. Now Bonta is warning customers of 23andMe they have a right to order their DNA data be deleted. The fact that 23andMe is reported in financial distress, he says customers should think about invoking their rights to delete their data and destroy any samples of genetic material being held by the company.
You know what their business model was?
It was for you to do genetic testing to see, what your background was, like to see if you were Scandinavian or if you were Scottish.
So it was valuated at $6 billion in 2021. 4 years later, it's worth $25 million.
Wow. That's somebody should be fired.
They went in big with basically partnerships with drug manufacturers, but then they would have to fund some of the research for things, and then they would find out that people had diseases, and they're like, "Oh, well, we have all this data, and we were talking about earlier, tinnitus. 14% of people have tinnitus. So GlaxoSmithKline goes out and they're like, okay, let's figure out a cure for tinnitus based on the information. And then they would run with it. But then I guess apparently like drug development is like, it's a cash. This is why drugs are so expensive. All the research that they do for drugs is what makes up the cost of drugs. And oftentimes, and they have to fund the drugs that never pan out, which more of them never pan out than the ones that actually do make it to market. This is why. How much is a injection of Ozempic?
I don't know. I think it's a lot of money.
$1,000?
Yeah.
So it's a lot, right? But then
if your insurance doesn't cover it because you don't need it.
But then the insurance company comes into play and all these other companies come into play.
The thing about 23andMe is I never did it. And then I heard about that California rapist killer guy, that old guy. They did the DNA profile, and they
the
found
guy living in Sacramento. He was
a cousin of a cousin of
killer,
a third cousin, and they kept narrowing it down. I mean, and then Dateline, NBC.
He's the state's most notorious serial killer.
Yeah. And now currently, the guy that is accused of killing those 4 students at the University of Idaho, it seems like forever ago. His trial's about to start, I guess. I've been watching. Megyn Kelly's big on this. She's got this author, this guy that's there, anyways. Brian Koberger. They found DNA under the.
I would have just locked him up. I would have given him the death sentence based on his eyes. Those are serial killer eyes.
Dude.
Those eyes.
Did you see the latest? What happened late last week? All the new information that's come out. Okay, well, anyways, those eyes are creepy.
He was a 23andMe guy.
No, his dad was. So what happened was they found some DNA on the knife sheath. If you don't know what that is, that's the little sleeve the knife fits in. It goes on your belt. It's like the holster.
Yeah, and his defense is. And his defense is, well, my dad just likes to chew on knife sheaths, and that one
it wasn't his dad's.
We put it up for sale at a thrift store.
They found this DNA on there, so then they put it into the system, did a DNA profile. It matched with a guy wherever he's from, New Jersey. I forget where he's from, but somewhere on the very far East Coast,
Pennsylvania, Poconos. Yeah. He's from the Poconos.
Yeah. So his dad's DNA or a familiar DNA comes up. So then they go and they're like, okay, they arrest him, they swab him. Now he's like 100% chance it's his DNA underneath there. So the news that came out this week about this guy is he bought that same exact knife. They've never found the knife. He got rid of it, or whoever the killer was got rid of it. But they found the knife sheath because it was laying between 2 of the girls that he killed with his DNA on it. That exact same knife sheath with a knife on Amazon just months before he committed the murders. If they say that's what
he bought it.
Say. He bought it.
He bought that.
Yeah, they've been trying to get Amazon history.
Search history.
Yeah, jackass! You really went on Amazon to buy a murder weapon? Like, are you kidding me? Like, what the? This guy was supposed to be like a doctorate in criminology, and he
right.
was, I mean, are you kidding me right now? You bought it on Amazon?
He's very he's mindful of his money, as they like to say.
And then the creepiest thing is the morning of when the bodies were discovered, the morning the murders were committed, apparently around 4:00 at 10:30 that morning, he's freshly showered in his bathroom, shirt buttoned all the way up to the neck, and he's got a thumbs up and a selfie photo he took of himself at 10:30 in the morning. The day of the
interesting.
So I don't know. Maybe he was proud of himself. Maybe he was. Who knows? Maybe he won a bet with a friend. I don't know.
I don't know. Creepy guy. Like I said, you should have throw the death penalty at him as soon as he's arrested. And he's got those eyes, because those eyes tell me that he buys his knives from Amazon.
The DNA thing is why once I found out about it, I'm like, oh, I'm not doing this. I didn't realize when they started talking about 23andMe, and there was another one that was big. I can't remember the name of it right now, but
Ancestry.
Yes, that would do these DNA profiles about your heritage, and I am curious. And they might be able to find out some things about you through your DNA to find out if you carry certain genes for cancer, or if you're a certain kind of Nova Scotian, that you're more likely to get this skin cancer or something. I don't know. Probably not skin cancer.
But here's the thing is, Ancestry prompts you to continue to use their service based on tracking down relatives and stuff like that. 23andMe was a one and done. Here's your report. Yeah. This is what your heritage is. And you're like, oh, okay,
but
great.
They were making this information available to, like, this DNA profile government thing. And now your DNA, apparently you had to check a box, but who does that? You just run to the bottom and hit accept, right?
Apparently Brian Kohlberger's dad.
So now your DNA is out there, and you just never know what's going to happen once it gets put into a system. So that's what I was like. Oh, they're not really being upfront about what they're doing with this DNA. So
yeah, that's why the Attorney General's like, dude, they might be in fire sale mode, and they could be just auctioning off your data to the lowest bidder or to the highest bidder, and those are pennies on the dollar based on what you paid to get into 23andMe, and maybe you should go and tell them, delete my data right now, because I don't want
But do they really delete it? Even if they say they do,
somebody
really
selling dental implants in Tijuana getting a hold of me, okay?
Yeah, exactly.
Jeff and Jeremy in the morning on 93.3 KZOZ.
Jeff and Jeremy in the Morning podcast brought to you commercial free by another podcast. You've subscribed to ours, now subscribe to theirs. It's the Slow County Real Estate Podcast with Hal Swayze. When you're done with this, go listen to something that will actually enrich your life. California DRE 01111 911.